Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our first group of candidates. First of all, I want to wish you good luck and the best of luck. So, since we do want our viewers to know who you are, I'd like you to give us your full name, your profession, the number of years you have been in your profession, and what seat you are seeking.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to your organization tonight. As you said, my name is Diane Alexander. I'm an attorney with more than 20 years of experience, and I am seeking the judge position in Civil District Court, Division E.
You're on mute, Don.
Judge Mason.
Okay. You were on mute. I thought you were talking on. Good evening. Good evening, and thank you to the voters east of the Industrial Canal for having us this evening so they can share with the public. I am Judge Omar Mason. I am Judge of Orleans Parish Civil District Court, Division E. I was elected to this position on December 8, 2018. And prior to being elected to the Civil District Court seat, I practiced law actively for over 19 years, practicing in the civil litigation arena, all the way from handling personal injury cases, class actions, complex litigation, all the way to handling, representing businesses in the business industry field. I've been on the bench for almost 2 years now, and I've presided over the domestic docket since I've been on the bench, handling cases involving families and child custody support, things of that nature. And I'll be moving on to the general docket in January upon re-election. I'm seeking re-election to my seat November 3rd, 2020.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to introduce you to Donna Glapion, who will be the moderator tonight, and to Brandon Gilmore, who's with You're Going to Feel Me podcast. So we can begin, Donna. Thank you.
You went back on mute, Donna.
Yeah.
How about that?
All right.
Good evening, folks. Thank y'all for joining us this evening. We look forward to hearing from both of you tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to have some questions for the incumbent, and then we'll have some questions for Ms. Alexander, and then we will have a set of questions for both of you that you both will have an opportunity to ask. And I characterize Mr. Mason as the incumbent because the questions are different and geared to the person already in the position and the person seeking to fill that position, and then questions for both of you. So if you guys are ready, we're going to get started.
Yes.
Mr. Mason, tell us, why should the people re-elect you to continue serving?
Yes, thank you. I was elected to this seat when I was running for this seat. When I decided to run for this seat a little over 2 years ago, I promised that I would not just be a judge who would just sit on the bench, but I'll stand up to ensure that justice for all is a reality for all. And that's something that I take to heart every day. One thing that I did say during my investiture ceremony the day before I took the bench, I said that, yes, I'm going to wear a robe, but a robe is not a cape. So I'm not going to promise, I'm not going to profess to be perfect in any respect. And so, of course, since I've been on the bench, I've been doing my very best based upon my 19 plus years of legal experience, trial experience. And I have the legal acumen and capabilities to handle the civil docket, domestic docket, despite the fact that I did very little to no domestic work in my legal career. My litigation skills, my knowledge of evidence, my knowledge of procedure has been invaluable to my experience on the bench and my ability to carry out my job to the best of my ability. And one thing that I pride myself on is my integrity, and folks in New Orleans deserve a judge who's dedicated and has not only the legal capability, but has the integrity to do the job. And it's a tough job in many respects, but especially in that respect, because this is a small town. This is a small town, but it's very active. A lot of folks think that judges are politicians. It's a means to an end for me. And so I do my job. I know I'm qualified and capable to continue to do the job. And I look forward to being reelected in November so I can continue to serve the people of New Orleans as I have for the last year and a half.
Okay. And so, do you believe, question number 2, do you believe you have exhibited judicial temperament in your tenure as judge?
Absolutely. That's one of my greatest attributes, is my judicial temperament. I'm on a family court docket right now, and I deal with a lot of matters involving pro se litigants, folks representing themselves. And in order to explain the process, in order so that they can understand the process, it takes time. It takes time. It takes an abundance of patience. It takes an ability to educate, which is something that I pride myself on, being an educator in many respects. I've taught at LSU Law School. I've taught at Loyola Law School. I've taught at Tulane Law School, trial skills, deposition skills. And so that comes in handy when I'm on the bench and dealing with matters, to have the patience to educate the individuals who are appearing before me so that they can know what's going on. And I give them the time. I give them the time to hash out the issues, to argue their point, and to present their case, whether they're represented by counsel or not. And so it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of understanding and competency to handle this job. And that's one thing that I'm very proud of, is my judicial temperament on the bench.
Thank you. And the third question, why do you believe you've received opposition in this race?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I've been on the bench for a year and a half. I have several practitioners who have appeared before me who immediately signed on board to support me in my candidacy for re-election. Folks are looking forward to me moving on to the general civil docket in January, where I will plan to really shine and really do great things, because that's even more aligned with what I've done my entire career. So I really don't know why I'm being opposed in this particular race. I've been doing the job to the best of my ability. I'm very competent. I'm very diligent. I'm always prepared for the cases that come before me. I do my research. I do my studying before I take the bench every single day. I'm prepared, and that's without a doubt. So I really couldn't tell you the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you, Judge Mason. Ms. Alexander,
Yes, ma'am.
how many jury and judge trials have you tried at the CDC?
As I said in my opening, I have 20 plus years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that experience included, I was the attorney for character and fitness at the Louisiana Supreme Court Committee on Bar Admissions. I was general counsel for the Louisiana State Board of Embalmers and Funeral Directors. I was also an assistant district attorney at all these parish district attorneys' child support division. And while there for several years, I have more than 300 bench trials under my belt. And that those years of experience there gave me a great deal of family law experience. It allowed me to deal with and work with a lot of individuals who were not necessarily aware of the process in the system, so that it allowed me to also be able to educate them and make them aware of how the child support system works and what they could expect when going in court. And and then, what the outcome could possibly be for them.
Okay. All right. So why are you seeking to unseat the incumbent?
Why I'm running. It wasn't an easy decision for me to decide to run against the incumbent, who is also my law school classmate, someone that I know and respect. Honestly, I know and respect Judge Mason. But I also know that on average, it takes about 8 months for a citizen to get a court date in the incumbent's division. That 8 months can mean the difference between a parent being able to feed their child or possibly having to go on public assistance. As I've said, I have 20 years of diverse legal experience, and I know that my diverse experience, which has given me knowledge in litigation, in court administration, in family law, gives me the knowledge that's needed to be able to serve the citizens of Orleans Parish as a judge with dignity and respect, that I can give them justice in a timely and efficient manner the first time around.
Okay. So why do you believe the voters should elect you? This position.
My 20 years of diverse legal experience sets me apart from the incumbent. I bring knowledge of court administration. I bring experience in legal writing, in litigation, in family law, which again will allow me to hit the ground running to serve the citizens of New Orleans with dignity and respect, but also render justice in a timely and efficient manner the first time around.
Thank you. Okay, Donna, we lost you for a second. And
Yep.
y'all, excuse us, y'all our first group, so we're working out the kinks.
Okay.
We've gone through the questions for Ms. Alexander.
Yes, we have.
Okay, Brandon, you have the
Yep.
floor.
Okay, this question is to both of you all, and I would like Mr. Mason to answer first. Have either of you ever been disciplined by the bar, arrested, or owe any child support?
The answer for me is no. I've never been disciplined by the bar. I don't know any child support and never been reprimanded.
Thank you. Ms. Alexander?
The answer for me is no. I've never been reprimanded or disciplined by the bar, and don't owe any child support.
Thank you. Next question. How do you ensure access to justice during the pandemic times? Mr. Mason?
Okay, sure. Okay. Well, one thing in January of 2020, the court sits en banc every month. Basically, we sit as a committee of judges. And in January of 2020, I took over the court's disaster recovery committee. And of course, when I took over the disaster recovery committee, I thought that I'd be doing hurricane updates and things of that nature. And then next thing you know, we're hit with this global pandemic. And so I was the head of the committee that charged up the reopening of the court, the safety guidelines and everything that we put in place to ensure that the courts continue to operate. The continuity of operations for the court was paramount during the pandemic. That was our first priority, is to get the courts back open. And so what we've been doing, of course, on the domestic docket, for instance, emergency filings such as protective orders continue to be filed during the shutdown. We still had virtual hearings, Zoom hearings to promote social distancing. Since we reopened, we've had tempered glass outfitted in the courtrooms to create barriers between litigants and others. We promote we have a staggered docket now, so that folks can, we're not having a 9 o'clock full courtroom with everybody standing room only. So, but in any event, that's what we've been doing to keep the court functioning during the pandemic. We're dealing with the jury trial issue now, but access to justice has been pretty much continuous during the pandemic, and the court's been operating at its full capacity, but for a couple of months where we had some limited filings, but the emergency matters are certainly paramount.
Thank you. And Ms. Alexander?
Yes. So I know that the clerk of court, Ms. Chelsea Napoleon, is doing a great job in ensuring that the public has access to the clerk's office in the court by means of the court's website. But what I would recommend and what I would suggest is that, and I would like to partner with her, some years ago, the court instituted a help desk for pro se litigants. And so what I would recommend is that the court create a virtual help desk. And so, and in the virtual help desk, pro se litigants particularly would be able to go to the court's website and find forms, maybe get frequently asked questions, and get information in filings and court fees, and have one central location to get information and to know what they would need to do in order to move forward in whatever legal process they are trying to take. And so then I would suggest that the court would maybe look to other states and some national best practices to see how to best implement the idea. But that's what I would would recommend in this pandemic situation for citizens to still have access to justice. And I don't know what happened to the light. I'm sorry. I'm not sure.
No,
Can you guys see me?
no problem. Thank you for that answer. Our next question would be, and Mr. Mason, you can go first. How do you make sure that there's an oversight and audit to avoid judicial delay? Okay.
Yes. With respect to that, again, I've been on the domestic docket since I took the bench, doing exclusively family court matters. But there's a couple of exceptions when we had like election challenges, things of that nature. However, with respect to the order of the docket, we have 90+% of the filings in domestic court are summary proceedings. So by statute, by law, they have to be handled in a summary manner. So there's no such thing as, okay, like in the general docket, you get a trial date 6-8 months down the line, maybe a year down the line. Domestic court, you get hearings 21 days for protective orders. Domestic abuse and stalking protective orders is 21 days by statute, 10 days if it's a denied protective order. So as far as that's concerned, another thing is 95% plus of my cases that I handle on the domestic docket, I render my decisions from the bench. I take very few cases under advisement, so folks aren't waiting for judgments. They aren't waiting long for judgments unless it's a protracted community property dispute that expanded over several days, and the parties are allowed to submit post-trial briefing. We have the briefing deadlines, and then after the briefing deadlines pass, then I take the case under advisement. But in the over a year and a half that I've been on the bench, I've taken literally, I've taken less than 10, certainly less than 10 cases under advisement, probably closer to 7 cases under advisement. And so the turnaround time is very expedient. 95+% of the cases I render from the bench because I have to, because that's part of the job. That's how we're trained in judges training to especially on the domestic docket, so that you won't have cases delayed. And like I said, with the settings have to be within a certain period of time in domestic docket because they're summary proceedings, meaning they're not ordinary proceedings where you file a regular petition and have to have discovery and all of those things. Those are available for domestic, but they're not typical in domestic. So that's the way it's insured. It's insured by the law. So and we implement the law in Division E.
Thank you. And Ms. Alexander?
Thank you. So moving a docket is a critical part of ensuring fairness to all litigants. I believe that a good judge has to balance three things: the necessity of taking time to pay careful attention to the details of the matter, that you have to ensure the necessity of not allowing cases to languish or to fall through the cracks, and also ensuring that the decisions that are rendered correctly the first time. So I believe that I would render justice in a proficient and an efficient manner if elected.
Okay, thank you. And my last question, specifically, what have you done in the last year as a contribution to the city efforts for the advancement of your community? And Mr. Mason, you can go first.
Sure. Well, one thing is I've been serving as judge, Civil District Court, Division E, for the last year and a half. And like I said, that's direct community interaction in and of itself. But outside of that, I'm very active with various organizations where I serve in various capacities. I've been the chair for a number of years of the Adopt a Family endeavor for the New Orleans alumni chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the Sigma Lambda chapter. I've served as the philanthropy committee chair for the New Orleans chapter of the Federal Bar Association. I serve as and what we do is, these are all, and I know I'm talking about positions, but we're actively engaged in community outreach, community service projects, things of that nature. Of course, during the day, I'm on the bench grinding away every day, dealing with the citizens and handling and solving problems of the citizens of our city. And that's why I ran for this seat, because I wanted to take my out of court experience in the community and bring it into court. And that's what I've been doing on a daily basis and serving the citizens. I guess, like I told you before, 90 plus, not 90 plus, but 80+% of the litigants who appear before me are representing themselves. And since this is an appropriate forum to say it, a majority of the cases come out of residents of New Orleans East in family court matters. And so it's near and dear to me. And so it is service to the community. And that's why I ran for this seat 2 years ago.
Thank you. Ms. Alexander?
Thank you. I am currently a resident of New Orleans East, and I've lived here in this particular area for many years now. And I have a son, a mother of one son. My son attended Lake Forest Charter Elementary School. And while he was a student there, I was very active in their parent-teacher organization. And also I served as a member of the school's major fundraising committee. I was a member and then eventually became co-chair of that committee, serving on the committee for 7 years. It was a year-round endeavor in which I was crucially and critically involved in the planning and the logistics and execution of the event year-round. But also as a resident of New Orleans East, I have volunteered for several years now with an organization called the Honor Foundation. And the focus and the purpose of the Honor Foundation is the cleanup and beautification of New Orleans East neighborhoods. So what the Honor Foundation does is, on a very regular basis, at least once a month, they pick a New Orleans East neighborhood to literally go out and pick up trash and clean up the area that we live in. And so I have been doing that for several years. I continue to do that and to serve my community. And also I continue to volunteer as a parent with my son's school, not as much, of course, during the pandemic, but my focus has always been volunteering service to my community.
Thank you, and thank you both for answering.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we want to thank you all for participating. So have a great night and good luck. Thank you.